I have tried some of the most extreme celebrity biohacks, and today I'm going to share my results, my experience, and I'm also going to tell you what to do to virtually get almost the identical results at a fraction of the cost, because some of these things are very expensive. But I am a human guinea pig for different therapies, and I've tried a lot more than this list. But these are some of the common things that you'll hear on the news with various celebrities. The underlying mechanism is very simple. You're adding a stress to the body to trigger certain biochemical pathways to help you heal faster or more efficiently. But realize that the ultimate healing comes from your own body, not externally. The external things are called epigenetics that can actually trigger this healing to happen. So let's first start out with number one, peptides. A peptide is basically instructions to tell your body what to do. A lot of athletes use peptides, celebrities, and people with a wide range of different problems. The reason I wanted to try peptides was for my osteoarthritis from the years of injury, sports, motorcycles, etc. These are injectables. You inject yourself, and the whole field of peptides is very new, and it's going to take time to really get all the research laid out and understand what it can really do. But I did peptides several years ago, and I only tried two different types of peptides. One here is called BPC-157, and that specific one sends signals in the body to help improve joints, to help improve blood flow, tendons, nerves, and I mainly use that for arthritis. And honestly, I did not feel too much change from that. I also tried this one right here called thymosin alpha 1. And this one works a little bit more on the immune system, reducing inflammation, especially for chronic inflammation, to see if it can help me with my arthritis. That being said, a lot of people swear by these, and there's a lot of people getting great results. It didn't do much for me, but what I found that worked better for my arthritis is myofascial stretching. Every night before I go to bed, I do a regular routine that involves stretching not just my joints, but my fascia, which is kind of like the wetsuit throughout the entire body. But out of all the things that helped me, that was the biggest thing. And of course, omega-3 fatty acids. Cod liver is very important, and also getting rid of all the seed oils. But for me so far, fascia stretching is hands down the best thing that works for my arthritis. Let's talk about number two, stem cells. Now, this is an interesting topic. There's a lot of different people that you can go to get stem cells. I went to a clinic in LA, which has a very advanced way of extracting stem cells from your fat. So I actually had to gain weight. So I had a little bit of a roll in my stomach so they can extract the stem cells from it. And they have this machine that they siphon it down and they extract these stem cells and then they inject them into your body while you're unconscious. Very expensive versus other types of stem cell therapy where they will use other types of stem cells from animals or other sources and then they'll inject you. I've done those too. They're less expensive. Personally, I didn't see a lot of change. I did feel some improvement, no doubt. Would I do it again? I don't think I would. But again, the reason I went is because I kept reading all the success stories, and there are so many people out there that will swear by it. It's just a miraculous thing for them. But I did it for my arthritis, and they actually gave me over 125 injections in my spine. And they also did it in my elbow and my shoulder. So it was quite intense. And the recovery was crazy too, because you're a little bit sore after this. And so you're kind of walking kind of slow. I remember I was in LA and I had to stay there a few days. So I was in sweatpants and this big shirt. I was kind of black and blue where they took these stem cells out. And I'm kind of walking down Hollywood Boulevard, shuffling around like an old person. And I couldn't take a shower right away. So my hair was all messed up and I was walking and hoping no one would recognize me. So of course I was walking by and I saw this very, very expensive health food store. Go in there and get some food. And of course, there were a whole bunch of people eating outside like, hey, Dr. Berg, how are you? I watch all your videos. And I'm like, I'm doing fine. I look like an old man, like I just got out of bed and a cripple, and was hoping no one else would recognize me. But overall, stem cells are really fascinating. There are other ways to trigger stem cells. I would never discourage someone from using stem cells because I've heard some of the most amazing things from them. For me, it didn't really handle my arthritis like the myofascial stretching did. Stem cells are like blank cells that haven't turned into anything yet. And then what happens is these undefined or undifferentiated cells can turn into whatever cells you need them for as new workers. The other thing about stem cells is you can also stimulate stem cells by doing prolonged fasting, okay? 3 days of prolonged fasting can create a huge spike in stem cells without having to spend anything. Fasting is very inexpensive and pretty much everyone can afford it. And just as a side note, if you ever do prolonged fasting and you want to get the benefits of stem cells and the healing and the cleaning up your cells, that's called autophagy. If you're trying to do prolonged fasting for just weight loss, then you should do some intense workouts if you can handle that. But typically, you don't want to do anything crazy because you're in that healing mode and you really want to rest and let your body do its thing and heal and repair. Okay, next one. This is a really interesting one. It's called intermittent hypoxic hyperoxic training. What you're going to do either on a treadmill or a stationary bike is you're going to hook up a mask and it's connected to a machine that can control oxygen. And so you warm up as you're walking with this face mask, and then you flip a switch at a certain point to decrease the oxygen for a very short period of time, maybe 30 seconds, maybe up to a minute. And of course, when you're starting this, you want to start really small, and then we flood the body with oxygen up to 80%. So we just give all this oxygen to the cells while you're exercising. Now, what's really interesting about this is when you starve yourself of a little oxygen and you're mimicking higher altitude training, your cells start getting hungry for oxygen. And then over time, you even build new capillaries and build a new vascular system because you're creating this stress that's causing your body to compensate. And then you literally drive this oxygen into areas of the body that at some point didn't have enough oxygen, especially inflammation. Because anytime you have inflammation, you have a lack of oxygen. So this is a great way to improve recovery and get rid of inflammation. What I did, of course, what I always do, is I just set it for going lower oxygen and push myself a little bit more. And literally, like for 2 weeks, I had this immune reaction because what you're doing is you're increasing blood flow to certain areas of your body that might have toxins, and then that creates an immune reaction. So that being said, if you ever do this, do it slowly and gradually over a period of time. I did it to improve something called VO2 max, my body's ability to use more oxygen. Now, that being said, it's an expensive unit. It's like $10,000. I think you can create almost the identical effects if you just get an inexpensive mask. I think they're called high altitude training masks, where you can set the little monitor for resistance to oxygen to simulate different altitudes. And I have one of those, and I do use those as well. And of course, you would do little sprints where you're shutting off the oxygen, and then you open it up and let yourself breathe. And pretty much anyone can afford those units. I highly recommend it to get your body to adapt and have more benefits. Let's talk about the next one, ozone therapy. The one that I received is they actually took blood out of you, they ran it through an ozone machine, and then they re-injected the blood, and now we have this ozonated blood traveling through the body. And this is a very deep cleaning of the body. It's really good for kind of hidden infections. Now, realize you can get a version of ozone therapy by just exercising, okay? Doing a sauna, consuming cruciferous vegetables, doing intermittent fasting and prolonged fasting. All of these things strengthen your body's detoxification systems. Let's go to the next one, dry fasting. Dry fasting is you're eating nothing and you're drinking nothing. Now, the first thing you probably had a thought on is, wow, this is dangerous. I think we can only exist for 3 days without water. Well, again, I'm a human guinea pig. So of course I had to do it because people tell me not to do it. That's been my nature for a very long time. If you tell me not to do something, of course I have to do it. There are groups of people who do dry fasting. They have done dry fasting for literally 11 days in a row, sometimes longer. When you do dry fasting, you just create more of an intense effect on your body. You trigger a lot of survival genes that you wouldn't necessarily trigger, that you probably never turned on before. There's been some experiments, especially with people that have cancer, that when they did a version of dry fasting, it helped get rid of the cancer faster. But again, you have to do it very, very gradually. It was very weird when I did this, going to bed at night, knowing I didn't drink anything. I was able to do it, but the problem was I was outside gardening when it was hot and I'm sweating. I should have rested in a cool area. And again, I don't recommend that you do this unless you really understand what you're doing and you're supervised, because it's going to add a lot of stress to your body. The last thing I want to say about dry fasting, which is fascinating, is that when you don't drink water, you actually burn more fat. Fat actually converts to water. 1 pound of fat will be converted to more than 1 pound of water. Isn't that bizarre? That is called biological water, and that has some therapy too. The whole mainstream message is you must constantly keep drinking water or you're going to die. We have to drink. But if you take a look at the ancient humans living in the environment, we didn't drink so much constant water. We drank and then we didn't drink for a period of time. So I always question, is drinking constant water such a good thing to do? Sometimes it can deplete you of minerals, especially sodium, and create another problem. But when you're doing dry fasting, you're doing this a lot stronger. And people report back like really huge benefits to this dry fasting. So you might want to do your own research on it. All right, let's talk about ice baths. I have an ice bath. I don't really go below 50 degrees. I tried it. I couldn't do it, so I stick at 50 degrees. And maybe you even need to start at 60 degrees. But the point is that you're changing the body's temperature to create a stress to induce a healing effect in your body. And what I found, because I have arthritis, it creates huge effects on my inflammation. It's very painful, especially at first, because every single cell in your body is like, don't do it, okay? Don't do it. So I just reverse that, and I tell my body, you're going in, you don't have a choice. And I just go right in. And then you have to focus on your breathing, because you start getting in this flight or fight and you're like, you're breathing. And I like to keep my forearms outside because they get really cold, and I'm able to do it for 5 minutes. Now I had to work up to it, but if you do that just a few times a week, super beneficial. The big thing I noticed though, is it affects my brain more than anything else. I just feel like my attention, my focus, my memory is so much better. So if I'm going to do a video, for example, I need to be like right there. I'll do an ice bath, okay? And then I'll do the video, and I have very little edits. I can just go right through it, A to B, and also my mood goes straight up. I'm like happier. It's wild. I mean, think about what happens. Your body has to maintain 98.6, okay? And you're going into this cold bath. So what does your body have to do? It has to generate a massive amount of heat. How does it do that? Through the mitochondria. The mitochondria, instead of generating energy, it's generating heat, which is a different thing, and it's wasting a lot of energy. And this is what you want to do if you want to lose weight. Because when people have extra fat on their body, they become a very efficient machine, and your body doesn't want to waste that energy. It conserves energy. So the way to waste it is to do the cold therapy. That's one thing you could do, not to mention other things like exercise. But you don't have to even get an ice bath. You can just do a cold shower. And you can even get part of your body cold, not the whole thing. That's a little bit easier as well. So these extreme celebrity biohacks all work by adding stress to the body to then cause our body to repair better. I have a free download that I want to give to you. This free download is my daily routine in a checklist. This is a routine that I use every day to feel like I'm 18 years old, even though I'm 60 years old, and I want to give it to you for free. And so there's a little link down below. Click it and definitely download that. And since I talked about repair and also detoxification, if you have not seen my video on selenium and how important that is for your detoxification enzymes, I put that video up right here. Check it out.